In this video, we're going to do lesson 1.6, which is all about geometric series. And personally, I think this one's a little easier actually than arithmetic series. So to start off, we're going to go back and look at a geometric sequence. Remember, sequences are just the list of numbers. And a geometric sequence is a list of numbers where we multiply by the same thing every time. And so if we're looking at a geometric sequence formula, AN equals A1 times R to the n minus 1 power. And remember, we always want to put our R in parentheses, otherwise we're going to mess up. So just like with an arithmetic series, one way we can solve these is with sigma. So we're going to have our first term, it'll say like x equals 1 or n equals 1 at the bottom. Above the sigma, you put the number, like your last term. If it says find the sum of the first 7 terms, you would put a 7 at the top, and then we write this explicit formula out to the side. So that is one way to do this. And so if we look at number 1, we start out with sigma. N equals 1 on the bottom. 4 goes on top. And then for our formula that goes to the side, remember it's A1, our first term, which is 2, times our common ratio. So look at your numbers. What are we multiplying by each time? We're multiplying by 2. And then n minus 1 goes in the exponent. We always put it up top. Be careful with that. A lot of students don't put it in the exponent. They like multiply. They put it in parentheses, kind of like with the arithmetic. You have to be careful there. And then we just type this into the calculator. By now you should remember how to type this in. But in case you don't, follow these steps with me. Math 0. On the bottom, we're going to type x equals 1. On the top of sigma, we're going to put a 4. And then I'm going to type in 2 times. I'm going to start new parentheses for 2. And then in the exponent, x minus 1. And hit enter, and we get 30. Number 3. So we're evaluating a series, so we're finding the sum of the first 7 numbers. So we're going to use sigma. N equals 1 on the bottom. 7 goes up top. And then we write our formula on the side. A1, this is my A1, times the ratio. So what am I multiplying by? 2 times what gives me 6? It's 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. If you don't remember, with a geometric sequence, if you take any term and divide it, because we're going backwards, we're going to figure it out to go backwards, divide it by the one to the left. So if I take 18 in my calculator divided by 6, it's going to give me 3. Back to my formula. I have my 3, n minus 1 goes in the exponent. I will show you on my calculator on my iPad. Math 0, x equals 1 on the bottom, I forgot, 7 up top, and then if I arrow over, 2 times, I'm putting in new parentheses, 3, close those parentheses, go up to my exponent, x minus 1, and hit enter. 2186. Forgot where I was. Nope. There we go. Or 2,186. All right. Number 3, if you kind of have caught on and you think you could do it, pause the video and try this next one out by yourself. So sigma always has n equals 1 on the bottom. The number that goes on top is 10. And then A1 is 80. For my R, notice your numbers are getting smaller. This means that your ratio is probably going to be a fraction. And so to help you figure that out, if you take 40 divided by 80, you get 0.5. You can write 0.5. You could also write 1/2 is fine. If you want to test out different numbers, you could, for example, take 10 divided by 20 or 20 divided by 40. Any term divided by the one before it will give you the ratio. And then back to my formula, I have to put n minus 1 in the exponent. And this can get typed into the calculator. Math 0, x equals 1 on the bottom, 10 on top of sigma. Then I go over 80 times 0.5. Then I do my exponent, x minus 1 in there. And I get 159.84. All right. Number 4, I'm finding the sum of the first 6 terms. We always start with sigma, n equals 1 to 6. So that means I'm finding the sum of the first term through the 6th term. And then I have to write in my formula. A1, which is -2, times my R. If you're not sure what your R is, just by looking, you can take any of those numbers. So let's say I take -32 and you divide it by the one before it. So -32 divided by 8 is -4. And then my n minus 1 goes in the exponent. And I'm going to type that in my calculator. So I'm going to hit math 0, x equals 1 on bottom, 6 on top, -2 times, you have to put this -4 in parentheses. You should always be putting your R in parentheses, but especially if it's negative. Then I do my exponent, x minus 1. And we get 1638, 1,638. Using sigma is just one of two ways for evaluating the series. So just like with arithmetic, we had sigma, but we also have a special series formula. So geometric is the same way. You can use sigma, but there's also another special series formula for you. So the series is the sum, just reminding you of a sequence. So we can also use this formula. And it's going to look kind of scary, but it's actually easier than the arithmetic one. There's actually like not extra side information that you have to calculate. So S sub n, so that means the sum of, n would be a number. If I told you to find the sum of the first 8 terms, you would have an 8 there for n. The sum, the big S, stands for the sum of however many terms we have. Equals, that's a big fraction. It's not as scary as it looks. A, and then in parentheses, r to the n minus 1 over r minus 1. And this is actually a1, sorry. a1 times 1 minus r to the n over r minus 1. R is our common ratio. A1 is our first term. And n is the number of terms we're adding. As long as you have those 3 things, which if you typically will, as long as you have those, this one's really easy. And you're not going to have, advanced, in the past, we have required you to memorize the formulas. And the way we've done that is, before you take the test, you would, I'll give you a little half sheet of paper where you write down the formulas and you turn that in, and then I give you the test, and once I give you the test, the formulas are on there. And that way, even if you've forgotten the formulas, you're not going to fail the entire test. You're only going to fail the first little part of it, so it wouldn't crush you. That's what we've done in the past. I don't know if that's what we're going to continue doing. We'll just have to see how things go. For regular classes, you all get a little bit easier. You don't have to memorize them at all. I'll give them to you. You just have to know when to use the formulas. So, we're going to use this new formula instead of sigma. Now, on the test, if I don't tell you a specific one, which I typically don't, you can use sigma or you can use the formula. It's up to you. You have the option of which to use. So I'm just showing you both. All right, so that formula. We're asked to find the sum of the first 10 terms. So I'm going to find S sub 10. A1, that's my first term, which is 4. And then in parentheses, I need to know my common ratio. So what am I multiplying by? If you can't tell by just looking, take any of those numbers, like 100, and divide it by the number before it, 20. And we get 5. So the ratio is 5. Then I put 10 up in the exponent. See how n, if I go back to my formula, n is in the exponent. My n is 10 because I'm finding the sum of the first 10 terms. Minus 1. And then on the bottom is just r minus 1. And then that gets typed into the calculator. So we're going to start out with the fraction, alpha y equals, hit enter. Four times 5, go to my exponent, type in a 10. Then you have to click the arrow to arrow outside of that because your minus 1 is not in the exponent. So make sure you're putting that minus 1 in the correct spot. And then on the bottom is 5 minus 1. And we get that big number. Not sure why it always does that to me. And again, I can't remember which one I was on. Okay. Equals 9,765,624. With geometric, when you're doing geometric series, those numbers get really big. So usually when you're finding the sum, you'll be finding the sum of a smaller amount of numbers. Otherwise, you'll get crazy big answers. All right, number 6. We're finding the sum of the first 8 terms. So that means my n is 8. My A1 is 81. Then we need our R. I'm going to take anything 9 and divide it by the 1 in front of it. 9 divided by 27. That is 0.3333333333333 forever. So in a case like that, when it's a repeating decimal, I want you to leave it as a fraction. For this case, you can just leave it 9 over 27. That's okay. Or you could reduce it down to 1/3. But here's the thing. You need to put extra parentheses around that fraction. And then, because the exponent is 8 minus 1. And then on the bottom is 9 over 27 minus 1. I understand this seems really confusing, but your calculator does all the work. So I'm going to go to the calculator and show you how to type this one in. We're going to start with our fraction, alpha y equals 81. So if you look back, if you were looking at my video, there's 2 parentheses there because I have to put extra parentheses around this 9 over 27. And then I'm going to go outside of that first one, raise that to the 8th power, and minus 1. So what I've got here is really what you should have in your calculator. So if you mess up your parentheses, you're going to get an error. And it's actually, I don't really think you need those extra parentheses around that 9 over 27, but it's just easy to mess it up. These little things, it's easy to type in your numbers incorrectly, so you have to be really cautious. Typically, on assignments, if your ratio is a fraction, it'll be like 0.5, and so it's easier to type in 0.5 than 1/2. So we get 128 or 121.48. All right, we're going to do a few more. I'm probably not going to do all of these just for the sake of time. So we're finding the sum of the first 9 terms. On top of my fraction, I start with A1, which is 5. That's my first term. A1 is your first term. Then I need my R. What are we multiplying by? 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. Then 9, my n goes up there. You have your formula to look back at. And then it's minus 1 and 2 to the 9th minus 1. Go to your calculator. And I didn't need this 2 to the 9th. Oh, whoa. Just kidding. It's just 2 minus 1 on the bottom. Good grief. All right, so you should get, if you do it correctly, and you didn't, if you caught my mistake, good for you, 2,555. All right, I'm going to pick one more to do. Let's pick number 8. Finding the sum of the first 10 terms. My first term is 4. My ratio is -3. That has to go in extra parentheses. When you have a negative, if you're raising it to a power, it always has to go in extra parentheses. I know, it's a pain to type it in, but at least you're not doing it all by hand. Then my n goes up top, minus 1, and -3 minus 1. And the answer you should get is -59,048. If you're not getting these answers, then you need to make a note and ask me in class, and I'll look at it and I'll see, maybe it's probably a calculator error. If you're writing it incorrectly, but you're getting the wrong answer, it's probably from the calculator. And so we'll work on that together if you're having trouble. If you want to go ahead and try these extra problems and then I can check them in class, that would be fine too. Otherwise, have a great day.